Hello guys, how are you? Back for yet another video. So this is going to be part two. Last week I spoke about depression, anxiety, and trauma, and that was part one, and this is going to be part two. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over and elaborate on some of the points that I spoke about last week, and that is going to be in part one, which is on my YouTube channel. Make sure before you guys watch this video that you go back and watch part one, so that you kind of understand where we are. So I'm just going to go back and go over the high points a little bit more in depth. So on last week, I defined depression. We spoke about that. So again, go back and look at that video so you guys can kind of get caught up so that you can, know where we are today. Talked about the stressful events in life that can cause depression. And we spoke about death, talked about, I can't talk again today, broken relationships, spoke about gender, talked about family genes, family history. Also, we talked about drug and alcohol abuse, and we talked about serious illness. Now, although that is not an inclusive list, those are examples of stressful life events. However, there are many others. Stressful events can include losing a job. It can include just trauma in itself. So we all have dealt with stressful events. So when we talk about depression, we are talking about what can lead to depression. So those events, which are stressful events, although again, that's not an inclusive list, that is definitely a list of some stressful events, but something that may be stressful to me may not be necessarily stressful to you. So just want you guys to know that. I'm just basically trying to give you a high level overview. Well, I gave you a high level overview last week. So this week I want to go through it just a little bit more slowly, and just kind of regurgitate some of the information that was previously discussed. We also talked about how depression is definitely linked to trauma. So what that means is untreated depression can result in trauma, right? So what that means is when, you're depressed, and I spoke about this as well, is very important to get yourself a licensed therapist so you can kind of talk about the things that's bothering you and have a move about plan so that you can overcome some of those issues, because what ends up happening is when you suppress it, and just being someone like myself, I am definitely guilty of that. I have a whole life. I'm busy. I have people that I'm responsible for taking care of. So I'm not always addressing every single issue in my life. But what I've come to find out is I had a lot of issues that I did not address that had just added up over time. So what I'm saying is when you are going through things in life, a lot of times you're just moving about and you're not giving yourself the time that you need to heal from certain situations. You're probably not even talking to anyone with regards to these issues. And I do mean, when I say talking to someone, I don't mean gossiping with a friend or, a family member. I mean actually speaking to someone that can get you through that situation. So that's what I am referring to. So you want to address that depression so that it does not lead to trauma. You want to be healed from that and find someone that can actually help you with that particular issue. So speaking on trauma, we talked about trauma is definitely, and the definition is your response to a distressing experience. Once again, When you are dealing with depression and it is unresolved, that is what's going to lead to that trauma, right? And we talked about what trauma is. It's that sudden feeling that can just come out of nowhere because it's reminding you. Because keep in mind, trauma we store as a feeling and not necessarily an experience. So when you see something or something happens, then boom, now you're starting to feel that trauma type situation, right? Let me just refresh your memory. Some trauma, not all trauma, but a good percentage of it is stored as feelings instead of memories, which means it'll manifest itself subconsciously and it can come out random. Remember, we spoke about that. And I talked about the examples of trauma and how you can be in a situation and then you can be acting regular, and then all of a sudden you're acting erratically because some trauma came up in whatever that situation. And that's how you're going to know, because now you're acting very different and very off course. So you'll know like, hey, something is going on here. So that is definitely an example of unaddressed, or maybe if you want to say undiagnosed trauma. So I'll give you an example that I can share. I really don't like when you, let's just say family members, when they gossip about individual family when they're not around, and then you'll see that person come back around and then everybody is just talking to them, knowing that just a few minutes ago they were just gossiping about that person. So I always had an issue with gossip and people just running their mouths and talking about people. So that was very traumatic for me, and nobody probably ever knew that that was really traumatic for me. I really didn't like it. I kind of feel like families should really stick together. Stuff happens, but when it was gossipy situations, I didn't like it. That was really traumatizing for me. And that's why I say, with regards to different traumas and things that cause trauma and depression, we're all different. For me, that wasn't the only traumatizing thing, but that was one of them, because my example of what family was is a little bit different than other people. So I took things very different when it involved family, and it took me a very long time to figure out and find a way to deal with that, because I was always like, wait a minute, this is my cousin, this is my sister, this is my family. So I went the over and above for certain people when I never really received that same treatment. So that is definitely my example of trauma and what was traumatizing to me. We also talked about sources of pain, and this is a good example. And what this particularly means is, when you have gone through certain situations, and even if you went through the therapy, you're seeing a therapist, let's just say you're on a road to better health, you're doing better. Some of the things that you want to remember, that you may encounter a time where you kind of are reminiscing on, different things and how things used to be. And you kind of remember life before whatever this traumatizing situation was that you went through. And I'll give you an example. Let's say you were one of your issues or a traumatizing situation. Let's say you were married and you had a traumatizing experience with your husband. We'll just use that for an example. And then let's say when you got a divorce and you moved on in your life, you could not stop remembering how things could have been with your husband. So that is definitely something you do not want to do. You have to learn to let go. You cannot play over in your mind how something could have been or how it should have been or how it would have been. You have to cast out those negative thoughts. And that is definitely another video, thinking and how to re-rationalize your thinking, right? And also another source of pain is, let's just say, you have a death of a loved one, and let's just say, whoever this loved one is, you had a really great relationship, someone that you confided in, maybe the only person that you could talk to, somebody that you obviously trusted, and you cannot get over that person just not being here. So, because it's traumatizing to you. For one, that was the person that you shared intimate, information with. That was someone that you trusted. That was your sounding board for different situations. And you play in your mind over and over again, how am I going to make it without this person? You have to reorganize your thoughts, because that's another source of pain. Because if you're thinking like, how can I move forward without this person? You don't want to think like that. Again, having you a licensed therapist will definitely help you with those types of thoughts. Another thing I want to touch on in this part 2, we talked about diversion of pain. And diversions of pain is just something that you do because you don't want to deal with, what you're going through. And we talked about, gave examples of some of those diversions of pain. We talked about overeating. We talked about sex. We talked about drugs, alcohol, shoplifting, gambling, anything that you can think of that a person would do to just basically not deal with the issue is a diversion of pain. That is not an exclusive list, but just think of it like this. Let's say, you're in college and you have to write an essay for school, and you be like, I don't want to do it. I'm going to go get something to eat. That is also a diversion, but we're not using it in that sense, but it's the same thing. So what you want to do is make sure, again, you have a licensed therapist and you're not using food or other outlets just to not deal with situations, because in the long run, it's not going to help you. We talked about the fake it till you make it, which we all know that don't work. So instead of pretending, you need to make sure that you are actually taking care of the root issues. I can tell you this, me being in therapy, and I go once a week for an hour. So you are going to have to come out of your 1 hour appointment. I don't know, if it's 2 hours or whatever. Generally, it's an hour. You're going to have to take time outside of that 1 hour or whatever that scheduled time that you have with your therapist to work on yourself. Keep in mind, your therapist cannot do the work for you, but can definitely get you on the road to doing the work so that you can be more live more of a fulfilling life, and you can feel better about yourself. But there is definitely going to have to be some outside work that you're going to have to do. With my therapist, she does give me a lot of materials. In addition to the stuff that she gives me, I do outside work. I'm looking stuff up because I feel like, this is my life and I am responsible for myself. So although I go to those appointments, obviously I cannot, be my own therapist. I go to a licensed professional because I don't know the things that she knows, but I also go outside of my scheduled time because I need to work on myself, and that's my responsibility. So I would encourage any of you guys that's watching, when you do get you a therapist, and it doesn't have to be something that you do right away, when you do get one and you're going consistently, that you start to look on the internet or Psychology Today or whatever resources that you have available to you, even if it's, your therapist giving you additional material. take some time to look at that stuff. Even if it's an extra hour outside of the hour that you working with, you know, your therapist, him or her. Just make sure you are putting in the work outside of therapy, you know. So I have spoken about, you know, myself and why, you know, I had decided to do these videos. And I can share that again in this video for those of you who maybe are watching this video and didn't watch the first video, which is part 1. But again, I'm going to need you to go back and watch that video. So just speaking on myself, I have always been, you know, very upbeat person, very straight to the point person. Never felt like I suffered from anything outside of normal. I'm sad, just like everybody else. Stuff happens, you're sad. But I found that I had gotten, you know, was experiencing too much sadness. So it's like I was just sad, and it was just like something is not right here. So I, you know, for months I just did not, you know, try to fix the situation, because I'm like, listen, I can figure this out. I got stuff to do. I don't have time for this. And I just felt like I had got to a point where I was just going in circles, and I just could not for the life of me. And keep in mind, I am a person who has encountered a lot of difficult situations, and I was able to maneuver those without the help of anybody outside of God, right? So I did not think that this was something that I needed, right? But I was like, something just is not right. So I am so glad to say that I did, you know, reach out and get therapy. And I can say, you know, I don't know how many months, maybe 4, maybe 5, I don't remember, but I am feeling so much better right now. And I was like, I just have to share this with people, because, you know, people are going through life with all sorts of situations and not understanding that if you can just reorganize your thinking, your thoughts, and talk to a licensed individual, not your friends, your mama, your daddy, your cousins, your gossiping aunties. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying talking to someone who is licensed, who has went to school, who can help you with these sort of issues, that life can be so much better. So I just have feel like a breath of fresh air now. And I haven't even been in it for very long, but just being able to restructure my thinking and not go on some things that I was taught that was driving me insane. Because I'm like, why am I doing these things? Or why am I doing this? I don't like that I'm doing this. So there were so many things that I needed to fix, and I just needed that connection to help me. So I was like, you know, I need to share this. So I don't know how to still describe the happiness that I'm having right now in this moment, or since, you know, I've been in therapy, but it is really, really, really good. I look forward to going to my therapy sessions, and I never thought, you know, that it would be able to help me as much as it did. I am the type of individual that's always helping others. They always call me with questions, this, that, and the other. But here I was at a situation and at a standstill in my life where I couldn't even help myself. So I was like, I feel like, you know, I wanted to share the information with you guys, because I also feel as African Americans that we do not put a high emphasis on mental health. So that was another one. I'm like, there's something going on, and I just feel like I'm not being the best person that I can be. I feel like I'm being counterproductive, and I felt like I was stuck, and that is the only way that I can describe it right now. But I just wanted to share this information with you. As I've said over and over, I'm not a licensed therapist, but the information that I'm sharing with you is information that I've gotten from my therapist, and also information that I've researched myself, because I want to be someone that has the power my own power to help myself. And I get that by going to therapy, getting the information, and then applying it to my life. And this is exactly what I want to do here. What I would like, to see you guys do is definitely reach out to you, a licensed therapist, as I've said over and over and over in my videos. But one of the other things that I wanted to touch on is self-compassion. And again, please go back and look at video 1. Self-compassion is you loving yourself through your mistakes, because you are going to have mistakes. But instead of beating yourself down into a poke, you need to have self-compassion for yourself. And that was something that I had to learn, because when you're very goal-oriented and some things just didn't work out, in your life, and you're like, man, how did I do this? Or why did I do this? And you'll just beat yourself. Don't do that. Don't do that, because it's not going to change the situation. It's not going to do much for your self-esteem, and you'll find yourself just beating yourself. Okay. So again, and I've said this, and I'm going to continue to say this, it is so very important that you guys get you a licensed therapist. And for the person who's on this video, oh, I don't need a therapist, everything is going fine, this video is not for you. This is not for you. If you are looking within yourself to have a better life, me going to therapy didn't make me no richer than I already am. I had my goals didn't change, but my process of thinking changed. My process of thinking. And believe it or not, money cannot fix this. This is not a money thing. This is not a money issue. But I feel as if you are able to, if you're able to change your way of thinking, you can open up doors that nobody can close, because everything starts with the way that you think. And a lot of times the way that the way that we have been brought up and the people that we have been around our entire life, it puts a perception in our brain and it forms the way we think and we act. So until you begin to change that, you will stay in a situation. I'm not saying that you won't be, rich or whatever it is you're trying to do with your life, but for me, it was the way of thinking. It was my process of thinking and how I wanted to not be like everybody else in my family. Not saying that everybody in my family is bad. I'm just saying I wanted to be original, and I didn't want to bring this history into my family and continue living my life for someone else. Like, I wanted to live my own life with my own values and not things that were instilled in me that I knew were incorrect. So if that's you, then this video is for you. So that is what therapy has done for me. It has allowed me to think differently, and not so much think differently. I have always had an idea of how I wanted to live my life, and I needed to keep that memory of what I wanted and not grasp on to what someone else wanted, because I've been around these people my whole life, and now I'm starting to grab onto whatever we were taught or whatever was said. So I just wanted to be my own individual person, get back to my goals, dreams, and desires, and not let anything that I had been through cloud that. So that is why I'm here, and I hope you guys like the video. Please like, share, and subscribe. I know I originally, when I did the last video, I said I'm gonna do the videos I think I said Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Scratch that. I'm going to do a video Monday through Friday. I cannot give you guys a time. What I will do is I'll pre-record the video and it'll be up. Follow me on TikTok. All platforms is Lakeisha. That's, you see it in the, obviously you're here, you would know. So Lakeisha on TikTok. Follow me on TikTok. Lakeisha on Instagram. Follow me there. And then, of course, on YouTube, it is Lakeisha. So in closing, just make sure that you are taking care of yourself, making sure you are putting yourself first, because it's really all about you. So you guys make it a great day. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Talk to you later. Bye.